On April 21, 1526, the plains of Panipath became the site of a logistical impossibility. This flat corridor, 60 miles north of Delhi, had long served as the final gate an invader had to pass to strike the Indian heartland. This map shows the footprint of the Delhi Sultanate. At the time, it was the dominant power in the region, possessing nearly unlimited resources, a deep network of local supply lines, and a massive home field advantage. To hold that gateway, Sultan Ibrahim Lodi brought everything he had, roughly 100,000 men, and a specialized unit of 1,000 armored war elephants. Facing him was an invading force led by Zahir-ud-Din Babur. On paper, his position was hopeless. He commanded as few as 12,000 and at most 20,000 soldiers. But the size of the defense failed to protect its leader. In less than 5 hours, Ibrahim Lodi was killed in the field, 15,000 of his soldiers were dead, and his massive army was rendered non-functional as a fighting force. This is the central mystery of 1526, how a well-funded defense network was systematically dismantled in a single morning by an army a fraction of its size. Ibrahim Lodi's military strategy relied on a philosophy of pure intimidation. He aimed to use overwhelming mass and brute force to simply run over any opposition that tried to stand on the plains. The centerpiece of this shock-and-awe approach was the armored Indian war elephant. These were mobile fortresses, clad in heavy-scale armor designed to plow through cavalry and scatter infantry formations. However, the bulk of Lodi's force was incredibly vulnerable. His infantry consisted primarily of unarmored peasant levies, men with little training who were used as cannon fodder to inflate the Sultan's numbers. This was complicated by a leadership crisis. Ibrahim Lodi ruled through fear, executing senior nobles and alienating his chieftains. By the morning of the battle, his army was led by a fractured nobility with little personal loyalty to their sultan. Lodi's defense was massive but brittle. It relied entirely on keeping its momentum forward. If the elephants were stopped, the untrained infantry behind them had no discipline to hold the line. Babur arrived with a focus on precision and preparation. His corps was made of battle-hardened veterans, and he relied heavily on secure supply lines and scout-verified local intelligence. He also possessed a technological edge Lodi lacked: gunpowder. Babur integrated matchlock firearms and early chemical explosives into his tactical planning. To counter the elephants, Babur spent 8 days engineering the field. He gathered 700 baggage carts and lashed them together using rawhide ropes to create a heavy artificial barrier. He left specific gaps between the carts, functioning as protected firing lanes, where his matchlock infantry and cannons could shoot from safety. This barricade effectively neutralized Lodi's numerical advantage. If the Sultan wanted to fight, he would have to funnel his massive army into Babur's narrow killing zones. When Lodi finally launched his charge, his army discovered they couldn't simply run over Babur's line. They bottlenecked at the carts, losing their momentum and their speed. As the front line stalled, Babur executed the Tilugma, a Mongol flanking maneuver. His cavalry didn't attack the front. They swept wide left and right, hooking around the flanks and closing off the rear. Blocked by carts in front and surrounded by cavalry, the Sultanate's army was compressed into an immobile mass, packed too tightly to swing their weapons. With the enemy pinned, Babur's center artillery opened fire. Cannons and matchlocks poured explosive shot directly into the huddled infantry at point-blank range. The noise and smoke triggered a panic Lodi hadn't prepared for. His elephants, having never heard the concussion of gunpowder, bolted in terror. These mobile fortresses turned around and routed through their own lines, trampling the tightly packed infantry who were trapped with nowhere to run. The Delhi Sultanate's sheer size became its downfall. Lodi's troops were trapped between Babur's flanking archers and their own stampeding elephants. By noon, the carnage was total. Ibrahim Lodi was killed among his troops, and the army that had dominated North India was effectively gone. This single morning caused the total collapse of the Delhi Sultanate. The governing structure that had ruled the heartland for 3 centuries was ended in a few hours of tactical execution. From the wreckage, Babur established his dominance, marking the start of the Mughal Empire in India. The battle also signaled the end of a specific type of warfare. The war elephant, the ultimate weapon for over 1,000 years, was now obsolete. Panipath showed that numbers alone were no longer a defense. Empire now required disciplined logistics, a unified command, and the lethal precision of gunpowder.